of the National Basketball Association since its inception. It is amazing how many of these WNBA players have a sense of entitlement. The slightest little thing that may resemble any other sports league that there is that's got any relevance, NBA, MLB, the only one that can't relate to this is the NFL, and it's because of the nature of the sport.
The Women's National Basketball Association continues to face significant financial challenges, having never achieved profitability throughout its existence. Even with the addition of standout rookie Caitlin Clark during the previous season, the league reportedly sustained losses of 4. Despite relying heavily on subsidies from the NBA since its establishment, numerous WNBA athletes have voiced complaints regarding increased scheduling demands. As the league approaches negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement, players can expect enhanced compensation packages. However, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert will likely implement a substantial increase in the number of games per season. Industry observers predict the schedule could expand to 60 games under the upcoming CBA negotiations.
And the physicality, but trust me, if the NFL could have games every other day, they would do it. But here they are, they're cruising down the road towards getting a new CBA. They're going to make more money. And the one thing I can tell these players, Cathy Engelbert is absolutely going to raise the amount of games that are played in this league. I have a suspicion that there may be 60 games in the next CBA. All right. Now you might be like, they're going to raise it to 60? Not immediately. Not immediately.
This anticipated growth follows patterns seen in other major sports leagues. The NFL plans to transition from its current format to an 18-game season within the next 2 years, with potential expansion to 20 games projected within a decade. The fundamental difference lies in football's physical demands, which prevent the frequent scheduling possible in basketball. Several WNBA players have publicly criticized the league's direction, expressing dissatisfaction with increased workload expectations. This sentiment appears disconnected from the league's financial realities, as television ratings remain poor except when featuring Clark and a handful of other marquee teams. Attendance figures similarly struggle, with many venues failing to reach capacity despite some arenas seating as few as 4,200 spectators.
See, what a lot of people don't know is the NFL is about to go to 18 games in probably the next 2 years. And they've got an eye on 20. All right, probably, I would say in a decade, they'll be playing 20 NFL games. That's my guess. But nonetheless, we've got one of their players openly talking about not liking to have to work for a living. This is why a lot of people can't relate to this league.
The 2025 WNBA season expanded to 44 games, representing the maximum allowable under current collective bargaining terms. This increase from 32 games in 2021 has generated substantial criticism from players, despite their previous agreement to these conditions through the CBA process. Natasha of the Liberty emerged as a vocal critic, stating concerns about injury risks associated with compressed scheduling. Cloud argued that increased games within shortened timeframes would lead to more injuries, claiming players represent investments requiring protection. However, this investment argument appears questionable given the league's continued financial losses over multiple seasons.
All right, the entitlement of it all. When you talk about, I want the same money as this, I want more money, blah, 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 and there is no more money to be had as of yet. And your ratings are terrible. Outside of Caitlin Clark showing up and maybe about 2 or 3 other teams, the attendance is not great. Most of these places, unless they got like the Atlanta Dream, has got a 4,200 seat arena, can't sell out. But yet we're going to go on here and complain.
The schedule expansion has created challenging stretches for several teams. The Liberty recently completed 5 games, including back-to-back contests within a 9-day period. Similarly, the Phoenix Mercury played 9 games across 18 days early in the season. These scheduling demands mirror typical NBA practices, where teams regularly play every other day with occasional back-to-back games and multiple contests within 4-day spans. Phoenix Mercury forward Sato Sabali joined the criticism, describing the commissioner's scheduling decisions as irresponsible. Sabali emphasized recovery importance and physical demands, despite the every other game format being standard across professional basketball. The situation becomes more complex considering several WNBA players, including Cloud, participate in alternative professional leagues during the off-season. This dual participation raises questions about their complaints regarding recovery time and physical demands within the WNBA schedule.
Here we go. The 2025 WNBA season is bigger and better than ever. There are more national broadcasts, TV viewers, and sold-out crowds. But the growth has not come without pain. This is hilarious. Nearly a month into the season, the increased 44-game schedule, 44 games, has drawn heavy criticism from players.
As television ratings begin showing improvement and gate revenues increase, particularly around popular players like Clark, team owners recognize significant revenue potential. The Indiana Fever's games consistently draw strong viewership numbers, with 1.92 million viewers tuning in even when Clark was absent. Additionally, venues sell out when the Fever visit, sometimes despite drastically reduced ticket prices. This financial opportunity will likely drive ownership groups to pursue even more aggressive scheduling. Industry analysts suggest the league could expand to 50 games as early as next season, with 60 games representing the probable long-term target. Each additional home game represents substantial revenue through ticket sales, merchandise, and concessions.
God almighty. Some of whom have called out Commissioner Cathy Engelbert directly. Guess what? Natasha Cloud. Has there ever been a player more unlikable? I can think of a couple. I don't know. Is Natasha Cloud the most unlikable player in the whole league? It's close. Quote, if Cathy keeps adding more games in this short stint of time.
The tension reflects a broader adjustment period as WNBA players adapt to treatment consistent with major professional sports leagues. This includes increased scrutiny, criticism, and performance expectations that accompany higher visibility and compensation. Players who previously operated with minimal public attention now face the pressures associated with legitimate professional league status. The upcoming CBA negotiations will likely determine whether player concerns about scheduling influence league decisions, or whether revenue opportunities drive continued expansion. Given the league's financial history and recent signs of commercial viability, ownership groups appear positioned to prioritize game increases over player preferences regarding workload management.
The injuries are going to continue to go up, Liberty guard Natasha Cloud said following practice Monday. When you talk about a big business and overall protection of your investment, we are the investment as players. Your job is to protect us. What investment? You can't turn a profit right now. I mean, that kind of talk is just ridiculous. We are an investment as players. Well, thus far, it's been a terrible investment by the NBA.
The fundamental challenge remains balancing player welfare concerns with the league's desperate need for profitability after decades of financial losses. As the WNBA finally shows signs of commercial potential, the tension between player comfort and business necessity will likely intensify rather than diminish. The current situation presents major challenges for the WNBA as they approach collective bargaining negotiations. Television ratings have experienced a dramatic decline, creating uncertainty about future broadcast deals and revenue projections.
Over the last 5 seasons, the WNBA schedule has steadily increased from 32 games in 2021 to 40 in 2023 and 44 this year, the maximum amount permitted under the current collective bargaining agreement. Though the players agreed to the CBA, and that's the other thing, you agreed to the CBA.
Viewership numbers reveal a troubling pattern. Indiana Fever games without Clark have dropped by 53% on nationally televised broadcasts. This represents a significant concern for league executives who previously counted on sustained audience growth. The overall league ratings have fallen by more than half, suggesting the impact extends beyond just fever games. Statistical analysis shows that while fever games on smaller networks like NBA TV and ION have increased in frequency, this doesn't offset the massive decline in major network viewership. Even lower-tier broadcast platforms cannot generate comparable audience numbers, regardless of Clark's presence or absence.
So, lads, this is very, very concerning if you're the WNBA coming into the CBA. It is the worst possible thing that can happen. Is the ratings coming out. It is the worst possible thing because you cannot work on the assumption anymore that the league's TV deal is going up. You cannot work on that assumption because the ratings are down over 50%. Fever games are down 53% with Clark out, and it's only national televised games. And I mean this when I say this.
The broader implications are particularly alarming. Fans who initially tuned in specifically for Clark appear to be abandoning other WNBA content entirely. This indicates that the league's strategy of using Clark as a gateway to expand overall viewership has not succeeded. Instead, her absence has created a vacuum that other storylines and players cannot fill. Coaching decisions have also become a point of concern.
The craziest thing about this is that the only stat that is misleading here, I read into it. I read into all of it. And I was like, the main stat, the only real stat that's misleading is the Indiana Fever games on national TV, because there has been I'm pretty sure there's been an Indiana Fever game. There's been more Indiana Fever games on NBA TV and ION and ESPN3.
Current Indiana leadership appears focused on transforming Clark's playing style rather than building systems around her natural strengths. This approach mirrors situations where coaches prefer different player archetypes than what they actually have available. The comparison suggests that if given the choice, some coaches might prefer players with different skill sets entirely. The basketball philosophy debate centers around whether Clark should operate as a traditional point guard or a more dynamic offensive focal point. Historical comparisons to successful NBA systems suggest that maximizing Clark's playmaking abilities, similar to how Phoenix utilized Steve Nash, could create more effective offensive schemes. Instead, current approaches seem to emphasize different roles that may not utilize her unique talents optimally
than there was before that. Because obviously, look, if Indiana plays on NBA TV or Indiana plays on CBS, it makes no difference. Like, you're going, even if Caitlin Clark's there, it's going to be 50% lower. But the scary thing is ratings as a whole are down. What does that mean? It means that the fans that are there for Caitlin Clark and staying are currently losing interest without Caitlin Clark. People will stay, watch other games to see everything around Caitlin Clark. That's the scariest part about this. And you've also, one of the frightening parts for me about this is that you've got a coach that doesn't want Caitlin to be Caitlin. You've got a coach who wants to turn Caitlin into Paige.
Despite Clark's absence, the Fever still maintains significantly higher viewership than any other WNBA team. This demonstrates the lasting impact of her fan base, even when she's not playing. However, this dominance also highlights the league's dependency on a single player for audience engagement. Media coverage has become increasingly problematic. Commentary during games often focuses on criticizing Clark rather than promoting the sport itself. Many commentators appear to lack genuine basketball knowledge or passion, instead using controversial takes about Clark to generate social media engagement. Their backgrounds often reveal limited basketball experience, yet they maintain prominent platforms within WNBA coverage. The entertainment value of other teams varies significantly. Phoenix Mercury offers exciting basketball but lacks sufficient talent depth. The new Golden State franchise shows promise with their style of play. New York Liberty provides quality basketball, though it may not appeal to casual viewers. Seattle's approach can be engaging when executed properly, while Las Vegas has struggled with poor offensive execution. Without Clark, Indiana's basketball quality has declined dramatically. The team's current play style resembles some of the most boring basketball ever witnessed at the professional level. This creates a puzzling situation where casual fans continue watching despite the poor product quality. League dependency on Clark has reached concerning levels. When other players have strong performances, media members immediately use these moments to diminish Clark's accomplishments, rather than celebrating the achievements independently. This creates an adversarial environment that alienates Clark's fan base rather than expanding overall league support.
That is a thing. Like the way Stephanie White, if you ask Stephanie White who she would rather, if you ask Stephanie White, to be completely honest, just like we said last year, if you asked early in the year, Christy Sides, if she was honest, who would she have wanted the team to take number one? I think she would have said Camila Cardoso. If we're being honest, early in the year, I think Christy Sides would have said that. Just like I think if Stephanie White was asked, if you had the opportunity to trade Caitlin for Paige, would you do it? I think her answer would probably be something along the lines of, if I say anything other than Caitlin, I lose my job. But I actually think with the way she wants to play, Paige Becker is better than Caitlin Clark. It is. Caitlin Clark is the system. She is the system. And I understand that, like,
the media landscape includes both legitimate analysts and those who appear to be fans masquerading as objective reporters. Unlike traditional sports debate personalities who maintain clear roles, some WNBA media members have direct access to players while displaying obvious biases. This undermines credibility and professionalism. Quality coverage does exist within the WNBA media ecosystem. Certain commentators and analysts provide fair, knowledgeable perspectives that could serve as models for improved coverage. However, networks and the league itself seem indifferent to elevating these voices over more controversial personalities. Historical precedent shows that successful fan development requires respectful treatment of both players and audiences. Clark's college career at Iowa generated massive viewership that carried over to her teammates and the program itself. This organic growth model could work for the WNBA if properly executed. The marketing challenge involves promoting all players without diminishing others. Current strategies often pit players against each other rather than building collective interest. This approach has backfired, creating division rather than expanding the overall fan base. Viewership data confirms that Clark's injury has affected not just Fever games but league-wide ratings. Games between other teams have lost significant audiences, suggesting that many viewers were sampling other WNBA content specifically because of Clark's presence in the league. The timing of these developments creates serious challenges for upcoming labor negotiation. Team owners now have substantial leverage as they can point to declining ratings and revenue concerns. Despite increased expenses for charter flights and facility improvements, even with new television deals, franchises face years of financial uncertainty. Player representatives may find themselves in a weaker negotiating position than anticipated. The assumption that growing popularity would strengthen their bargaining power has been undermined by the dramatic viewership decline. Owners can legitimately claim that the league's financial model remains precarious. Long-term sustainability requires addressing these audience retention issues. The current situation demonstrates that building a league around a single player, while potentially lucrative short-term, creates vulnerability when that player is unavailable. Developing multiple compelling storylines and marketable personalities becomes essential for stable growth. The WNBA faces a critical juncture where decisions made in the coming months will determine whether recent growth represents genuine progress or temporary spike dependent on one individual's presence. The league's ability to maintain audience engagement during Clark's absence will significantly impact its future trajectory and financial stability. Caitlin Clark faces a challenging situation with her current Nike endorsement deal that requires immediate attention. The circumstances surrounding her contract have become increasingly problematic, and there are viable solutions available that could dramatically improve her position.